follow me. As Jesus went forth to fulfill his mission, he often taught the people on the hillside along the beautiful Sea of Galilee. It was here on this tranquil hill that Jesus preached his touching Sermon on the Mount.
Here comes Jesus. Shh. He's like one of us, not like the scribes. Shh.
Blessed are the humble-minded, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God.
Shortly after the Sermon on the Mount, one of Jesus' disciples asked him to teach them to pray.
When ye pray, say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven.
Thy kingdom come, upon earth as it is in heaven. Notice, upon earth. Here Jesus speaks of an earthly kingdom as well as one in heaven. Where did this promise of a kingdom on earth as well as one in heaven come from? We can trace this promise all the way back to Father Abraham. God had told him, In thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. In blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven and as the sand upon the seashore. The gospel which God thus preached to Abraham was about a kingdom which had two parts. One likened to the sand, that is, a kingdom here on earth, and one likened to the stars, a kingdom in heaven. Now Jesus had come to begin the fulfillment of that promise, for he was the promised seed. Jesus invited his disciples to become a part of the seed of Abraham, the kingdom in heaven. And so Paul also tells us that if ye be Christ, then are ye Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise. It is this heavenly seed which will bless all the families of the earth. When speaking of the promised kingdom, Jesus often spoke to the multitudes in symbolic stories or parables. And the disciples questioned him one day,
Master, why do you speak in parables? They're so hard to grasp. Why don't you speak so everyone can understand?
That seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand, lest at any time they should be converted.
Lest at any time they should be converted? Quite an unexpected reply. Why wouldn't Jesus want them to be converted? Wasn't that the very object of his ministry? Well, from Jesus' answer, we see that he must have had another purpose in mind. Everyone heard the same message, but only those who were willing to become dedicated followers and to study and search diligently for the meaning would be able to understand. Jesus was first seeking and inviting a special class to share with him in his heavenly kingdom, the spiritual seed of Abraham. Our Lord is still seeking and inviting this special class. They would be the instrumentality to share with him in blessing all the families of the earth. Notice how this is brought out in Acts 15:14-17. First, there would be the selection of his church. God at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. But now notice, in addition to God selecting the church, note the following verses which show what the purpose was of God selecting this church class, and then what will follow after. After this, that is, after first selecting the church, I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David which is fallen down, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord. That is, in God's earthly phase of the kingdom, all the remainder of men, that is, everyone other than the church class, will be raised from the dead and given an opportunity to know of God in all his fullness. And so his main purpose now is not to convert the whole world. That will take place in his future kingdom. Now we see why Jesus spoke in difficult-to-understand parables. They were not meant to be understood easily by everyone, but only by those willing to dedicate their life to know and serve him supremely. In order to become a member of this heavenly class, we must be willing to give up completely our own aims, hopes, and ambitions. Paul tells us to set your affection on things above, not on things of the earth. We must also develop certain qualities of character to be Christ-like. Those who thus develop this Christ-like character will be as the stars of heaven, blessing the remainder of the world, those likened to the sand of the sea, the earthly phase of Christ's kingdom. But how will this kingdom on earth come to be? Jesus forcefully illustrated this to us in one of his miracles. On one occasion, as Jesus was ministering in the north, he received word that his friend Lazarus was ill. Lazarus was a good friend of his, but Jesus did not immediately go to see him, as we would think he might have. And after 2 days he said to his disciples,
Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awaken him out of sleep.
The disciples were puzzled, even as we would have been. They answered, Lord, if he sleeps, he doeth well. In other words, if he was ill, it was good that he was sleeping. It would be better not to disturb him. But our Lord then replied, this time very plainly,
Lazarus is dead.
Jesus had likened death to a sleep. When we sleep, we don't know anything. Even as we're told in Ecclesiastes 9, the dead know not anything. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. Well, this helps us to understand why Jesus could say that Lazarus was sleeping. The disciples and Jesus proceeded to Bethany. When they arrived, Lazarus had already been dead for 4 days. Jesus asked to be taken to Lazarus' tomb. He was so touched by the sorrow of death that we're told that Jesus wept. And then he instructed the stone to be rolled away and lifted his eyes to heaven and prayed. He cried with a loud voice,
Lazarus, come forth.
he that was dead came forth. Oh, could you imagine the joy of family and friends as they saw Lazarus brought back to life? It is this same joy that will be experienced by all the world as they are reunited with their loved ones when they are brought back from the grave to a kingdom that will be established here on earth. Every human being who has ever lived will be awakened from the sleep of death. Jesus promised this in John 5:28 and 9. The hour is coming in the which all, notice now, all that are in the graves shall hear his voice and shall come forth. All these families of the earth will be raised from the dead by Jesus and his church. As they are resurrected, they will be given an opportunity to know the Lord. For at that time, Isaiah tells us that the earth, notice now again, the earth, shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. And Jeremiah confirms this. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord? For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Yes, this will be the earthly seed of Abraham, resurrected from the dead, to a kingdom here on earth, and given an opportunity for life. The blessing of all the families of the earth. Good tidings of great joy to all people. The cause for which our Lord came. However, though blessings will abound in that kingdom, Galatians 6:7 will also be fulfilled. What ye sow, ye shall reap. Yes, those resurrected on earth will receive chastisements proportional to the degree of willful sin in this present life. All for the purpose, however, of correction. For Jesus and the church will give them every help possible to assist them to change their characters, that they too may receive life. Some, however, will still refuse to obey, and they will be cut off in a second death from which there will be no resurrection. The vast majority, however, will pass their final test, and they will be given everlasting life. This is the great cause for which Jesus came, that through the sacrifice of his life, man could be brought back into harmony with their Creator, to enjoy the blessings that God originally intended for every man, woman, and child that has ever lived. But Jesus died so long ago. When will this resurrection take place and the kingdom be established? Well, you know, the disciples asked Jesus this very same question in the 24th chapter of Matthew.
Tell us, Master, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy presence and the end of the age?
It is interesting to note how they associated the kingdom with Christ's second presence and the end of the age. Jesus proceeded to outline evidences that would enable those who were watching to recognize when this time would be.
For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh saved.
Sounds like our day, doesn't it?